Half a day, and welcome to the Chamber Member Spotlight Podcast, where we feature one of our many small business members. As we are aware, small businesses are the backbone to any community. They provide much needed services and products, employ our residents, pay taxes, and give back to our community in a number of ways. We're so glad you joined us today. We know you'll enjoy this episode. My name is Catherine Castro, your host for the Chamber Member Spotlight Podcast. Let's get started, shall we? Our featured guest is Guam Chamber Member Pacific Fruits, represented today by Christine Baleto. Half a day and welcome, Christine. I'm excited to sit with you today and share your company with our listening community. Welcome.
Thank you. So happy to be here. As I told you earlier, I kind of felt like I was a boring person that wouldn't be of interest. So I appreciate that you think I'm interesting enough to share my story with our listening audience.
Are you kidding me? You are absolutely interesting. You know, if this podcast could be any longer, we would talk about all of the diverse things that you are absolutely involved in the community. So, but you know, this particular podcast is specifically about Pacific Fruits. And so this is a really great business that you have. So tell us how you got started and what led to bringing the Fruits franchise to Guam.
Well, interestingly enough, my husband had dog training. Like he's one of those in customs that like do the dogs that sniff out drugs. So one of the main training centers for the US is actually in Florida, in Orlando, Florida. So he went out for the summer. This was in 2009. And, you know, our agreement was I was going to fly out with the kids. We would, you know, take them to Disney World and, you know, all the theme parks in that area. And so my husband and I have always been really into eating healthy and exercising. We would go to the Gold's Gym in Orlando. Connected to that Gold's Gym is the Fruits. And so, you know, after a few days, he was like, hey, let's go get a, you know, protein shake over at that place there. We went there, and as we were getting our stuff, I noticed they had like a whole bunch of different menu items, sandwiches, wraps, salads, and I'm like, hey, these guys got food. So when I went back to the place that we were staying, I told the kids, I said, you know what, let's check out this place. We went to a different location. I think that one was in Tampa. I'm not exactly sure where. It wasn't that far away, but we went to a different location, and I told the kids, you can get whatever you want. So they got like Oreo Madness shake. My son, who was 3 years old at the time, got one of the wraps. And you know, here on Guam, we don't really do wraps. So when he was eating it, he was like, wow, mommy, this is a really good sandwich. He didn't know any better. And then the kids loved everything. And so that for me was what made me decide to pursue it, because it's so hard to get your kids to eat healthy. And honestly, with all of our busy schedules, you know, I was guilty of like, I'm running from one thing to another. I just need to go through the drive-through and get my kids something, but there's not a whole lot of healthy options, you know, when you're doing quick service. So this was the appeal to me. It's like, it's a quick service restaurant. They serve healthy items, and my kids loved it. Wow. So from there, I called the franchise while I was still in Florida. And then by September of 2009, I was awarded the Master Franchise for Guam, CNMI, and, you know, the rest of Micronesia.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So now you're saying that, you know, obviously this happened back in 2009-ish, right?
Yes.
And we have a whole bunch of fast food restaurants, not necessarily the most healthiest perhaps, but did you think that you would, you know, be as successful as you are now? Like, you know, because this concept is new at the time, you know, going back, you know, in our time machine, back to 2009, you know, was that a big step? Like, you know, were you going out into the unknown?
Basically, yes. And, you know, as I spoke with, so like one of my favorite stories was I was the general manager of Market Wholesale, and my boss was Jerry Calvo. So I told him, I said, hey, Mr. Calvo, you know, I'm going to bring this franchise out. I really like the food, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, you're not leaving me, right? I'm like, no, this is going to be a side business. But he's like, girl, this is the most unhealthy population. He's like, people don't like to eat healthy. And I was like, well, I think we need choices. So it really, just even like talking to people, not many people, health and fitness was not top of mind back in 2009, right? It was like, it was really something that was going beyond what people were used to. And then even as I went to apply for loans, I was rejected 3 times.
Wow.
And part of that was because there was no such concept on Guam, especially something that, really was, the main thing was smoothies. And there was nothing of that nature here on island.
Right.
And then healthy foods, there was a lot of folks that just felt, it's not a viable business. And so I always credit Bank Pacific because, I went to them and I'm like, after 3 times being rejected, it was like, can you please help me? And they approved the loan application, and that's how I started, Fruits. Like by March of 2010, I opened the first store in Agania Shopping Center.
Amazing. I love that story.
Yeah.
So, the whole, thought of eating healthy, right? So I have to say that I was one of those people, like, if it doesn't taste good, then I'm not going to eat it.
Yes.
But my husband actually was the one who got me to go to Fruits. And he goes, you got to try this, honey. You're going to love it, right? So he went in and he got me the strawberry
cream.
Oh,
Our number one.
my gosh. That was so good. And then he got me a wrap, right? And again, in those days, I think the only wrap that you ever ate was like a burrito, right? It was like associated with Spanish food, right? Mexican food or something like that. And I love that type of food, right? So I tried it. I'm like, you know what? This is really, really good. And so you were saying that, okay, the banks, you got turned down by banks. Was there other people in your life that maybe was kind of negative in this?
Oh, I think especially like a lot of business associates, right? Again, because it wasn't top of mind. It wasn't, and your perception of what healthy food is.
It doesn't taste good.
It was very common. And so for me, that was the biggest thing. Like, we always say in Fruits, you go from the ultra healthy. So we had wheatgrass, which is like the one extreme, but we also call like the decadent stuff, which Oreo Madness is part of that. It's not super, super healthy. It has, non-fat yogurt. It has like fat-free milk or 2% milk or soy milk, so there's ways that it was modified, but that's the whole basis of the Fruits concept, is that how can you make life changes if you don't like what you eat? Right, so you have to enjoy the food. Like Fruits' motto was eat delicious and smile, and that was on purpose. It's like, unless you like what you eat, you're not going to continue to want to eat products that are good for you. And again, this was back in 2009 when, if you even mention having a meal without rice, they're like, what? That's not a meal, that's a snack.
Yes.
So it has been, and quite honestly, even as I opened the first store, I stopped telling people it was healthy because it was such a such a turn off. Like even I remember Kyle and Kai on the radio. It was like Kyle's like, please, I don't like that kind of food. So I stopped telling people it's healthy until they started liking it. And it's like, then when they like, oh my gosh, this wrap, the Southern Girl's my favorite wrap. I'd be like, that's fat-free dressing in there, right?
Oh, wow.
That we only use chicken breast. It was only then that I would tell them what was in it. And, even as we launched the first sushi bake, which by the way is made with brown rice, white albacore tuna, low-fat mayo. So, even the modifications on that, we were with one of my friends and she like ate the whole bowl and she's like, see, now this is real food. And afterwards I told her, that's brown rice, and she's like, what? No, I hate brown rice. So, it's kind of, you finish the whole bowl without basically breathing, sweetie, like.
I love it. I love it. That's
so,
actually one of my favorites too. So.
Yes. Yeah, actually, yes. The chamber, I used to drop trays off to you guys every time, especially you were doing the activities at Agania Shopping Center.
Yes.
And then,
Very
even our
popular.
smoothies, it has, the juice has no sugar added. The yogurt that we use is non-fat. And then we even have just launched our vegan smoothies. So we don't even add yogurt to that one. Like, we've really tried to, when Synergy used to do their detox program, we would introduce a detox smoothie. So we really try to cater to, in fact, I was just talking to the staff. I was like, man, we need to do like a keto coffee or a keto shake because, again, it goes back to what Fruits is all about. We want to be a part of people's choice to, eat better. And we want to make sure they like what they eat and drink. And then that way they'll continue, eating healthy and living healthy. We hope to be a part of that journey.
So, you know what? Just listening to you have that discussion, right? And then thinking back to when you guys introduced your half a day items on the menu for Chamorro Week, and then just kind of hung out because they were so popular. And I have to say, I love that the half a day wrap, the half a day, the sunrise,
the half a day sunset, and then we also were the first on Guam to launch a Letiza shake. I know there's a lot of folks doing that now, but Fruits actually, and people might not realize that we were the pioneers of bringing a lot of this stuff to Guam. So acai bowls started at Fruits, and it was actually Big John Calvo. We were having dinner one time, and he's like, hey, sis, you need to bring out acai. And honestly, I was like, what is that? And he had to explain it was a jiu-jitsu thing, and that's where they get energy. I had to work with a supplier in Brazil to get it to Los Angeles, to get it to Guam, so a lot of people are always like, wow, so, your stuff is so expensive, but a lot of the stuff that we talk about original stuff. When you get our smoothies, that's real strawberries, real mango, real papaya. Our acai came all the way from Brazil, so that we have like the purest product, right? But yeah, we were the first ones to bring that out. And then with Chamorro Month, we actually were Letiza shake, coconut candy shake, and I really have to give credit to all the different staff that have worked at Fruits, because none of these new products or innovations came from me. These are my staff, just being like, hey, boss, we should do this. Oh, I tried mixing this. In fact, just I was at Fruits Anderson last week, and one of the gals said, boss, we need to do an avocado shake. I put one together. I'm like, go make it for me. And she made it. So right now we're looking at when we're going to launch that. But
oh my gosh, someone stand in line right now.
Yeah, even someone just came up with an ube shake.
Oh,
so all of this stuff is really from our local workers coming with innovative ideas, and we've even had customers introduce new flavors. So Josh Taikenko, who was a regular with us, he introduced this caramel peanut butter shake, which, let me just tell you, I'll be the first one when they said peanut butter shake. I'm like, I don't know. But man, that ended up being one of my favorites, and we actually called it Josh's Peanut Caramel Addiction, because it really was.
See that, Josh? That's a huge shout out to you, my man.
But that's one thing I've enjoyed about this particular franchise and our local customers and our local staff is that, first of all, the franchise gave me that flexibility, and they said, so long as you're keeping within the healthy, we can't have you serving French fries and hamburgers, and I love hamburgers and French fries myself, but didn't just go within their concept. And then the locals have been so much a part of Fruits's new introductions and being able to appeal to a wider range of customers.
Right. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's been great.
Seeing that evolution, right, in the menu additions, right, and to have the franchise be so supportive of that.
Yes.
Right.
That, and I think also because we, even from the inception, believe it or not, was the highest in sales throughout all the Fruits franchise. From the time that we opened, we were always the top out of all of their stores throughout the country. And so with every introduction of these new flavors, I mean, we kept it exciting for our customers to come back. So we just launched, which is our regular holiday shake, is our pumpkin shake, just launched October 1st. And, we usually do our turkey cranberry wrap for our November introduction of a food item, and then our eggnog shake for December. So, these kinds of things, I mean, it really, we hope, keeps our customers excited about coming to Fruits, and it's just not the same old thing all the time.
Right. So, we're going to be real here now, Christine. So you're making us all malago because
I know.
as many of us know, you now only have the Anderson store,
yes.
right? And the pandemic, unfortunately, was not kind.
It was not kind. We are an unfortunate casualty of the pandemic, and so I think, we were only able to maintain our Anderson store because we didn't have to shut down during that time. And, I mean, that's one of the challenges of being a small business, and especially the restaurant business is such a difficult business, low margins, just trying to get by month after month in most cases. And so there's usually not a whole lot of, I guess, cushion to continue. And we couldn't survive, and in actuality, it's something that we saw, throughout our community, and I think that's why with me, I was so passionate about how small businesses survive and how, and I mean, everybody suffered, but small businesses have unique challenges, and as one, like, some of the other owners of small businesses that closed during the pandemic, I called their owners and I was like, I'm so sorry. I know how it feels. Some of those employees have been with me since the beginning. It's very hurtful. Like when to close a store, something that, like, people don't realize. They think, oh, you own a business, you're so rich. No, you put your house on the line. You put your assets on the line. You go for a loan, and if your business doesn't work, you could lose everything.
Exactly.
So it is a very stressful thing for small businesses to put that investment and believe in their dream, right? And then, when you get it going, I'm telling you, small businesses, their staff is family.
Exactly.
It is family. We take care of our staff. I know a lot of small businesses during the pandemic that were helping their employees. When the pandemic started, there was no such thing as PPP or these loans. I mean, we literally had to take out of our pockets and dig and try to help and see what we can do. And that's why a lot of businesses didn't make it, and it's just unfortunate. But, I have been looking, out. I've actually restarted some conversations with some of our old landlords, and I'm hoping that pans out. And then, we've even had some suggestions for some of the chamber staff. Hey, come to my village.
I love it.
Yeah, so we're really looking at it, and certainly, even there was one interview we had, or actually there's been a couple of interviews we've had on the radio where they're like, hey, when you come here, you usually bring us food and drinks for us to try. And I'm like, yeah, okay, like, let me get a new store started. And then, but we really do want to reopen. We've had a lot of folks, especially for me, because they know that I'm associated with the business, be like, when are you going to open in the local community?
You had that little small taste for the community outside during the Chamber's Health Fair.
That's right. That's right.
So that was really, really popular, and I have to say that I do dig your vegan smoothie.
Right.
So I was really pleasantly surprised. I didn't think I'd like the peanut butter one, but I absolutely adore it.
I tell you, that is something that has been consistent since I opened the store, is like, people try our products and they're like, are you sure this is healthy? Like, because that's the thing, is it tastes good, so you want more. And I'm so glad you like the vegan products, because that's one of the ones that's a challenge. The minute I put vegan in front of it, I was like thinking, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Because you let them try it and then they're like, ooh, it's good. And then you kind of tell them afterwards, oh, by the way.
only has so many calories, right?
Yes, that's just almond milk. There's some fresh almonds in there and fruit, and that's it.
Amen.
Yeah.
So, going back to when you first launched your business, right? You opened in 2010, and when you opened, were you pleasantly surprised? Because most small businesses, they open, it takes a little bit, right, to kind of get that momentum going. But that wasn't the case for you.
No, I tell you, the franchise trainer, the VP was out here, so he flew out and trained our staff, and back then in 2010, again, your shopping center, all the spaces weren't exactly full. So I distinctly remember him sitting down with me, and he's like, "Why did you choose this location?" And he's like, "This is not generally the type of location." And I'm like, "Trust me, it's going to do well." We opened that first day, and we had lines outside, and it was just, we were caught off guard too. And that day, we did the highest sales in one day than any of the other franchises across the nation. So he was amazed. He was just like, "Good choice." But that's one of the blessings, I think, with Guam, like especially with foods, right? Our people are always open to trying new things. Yes. They love new food, new types of food, and so and I'm not sure they understood that fruits was healthy at the time, so that could have been what drove it. But we've been blessed since the time we've opened to have a good base from the get-go. And up to now, like even with Anderson, as I'm getting back into the operations, they open at 8:00, and I'm like, who goes at 8:00, right? Like, what are they? And they're like, "No, we have regulars." Wow. And then, of course, as I go out into the community, there's the regulars there. Sure. I started to, just because I wanted it, I started to have them delivered to Docomo, once every other week, some food items. And then people would see this coming in. They're like, "Hey, can I order?" Nice. So now, like, I've got like huge orders coming in because people miss it. And I remember, like, even our people ops chief was like, she took her first sip of her favorite, which is tangy mango. Somebody else like tropical toucan. But she was like, "Oh my God, I just miss this. You need to open in the community. I used to go every day and get my tangy mango." And she's like, "I'm so upset that I can't do that." I'm like,
So just as an aside to our listening audience, Christine is also the CFO for Docomo Pacific.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So looking back to when you first started your business, is there anything that you would do differently?
No, I think that, just that whole journey, like bringing it here and, having the support. I mean, I, again, was fortunate because at the time I was at Market Wholesale. So I was very familiar with distribution. I was very familiar with, the supply chain. So, I think I had an advantage over most folks that are just trying to start the business. But I think that we did the right things, coming out. I think that maybe if I had been a little bit more involved, and I didn't have like what I call my real job, that maybe we could have expanded a little bit more. So that I regret is not doing more focus and opening more stores. I kind of limited it because I could only handle so much in my spare time, right? But yeah, other than that, it's been a good business, and it's I'm really, really happy that we still have a lot of people that love fruits.
And I think you were the trendsetter, right? And I think that it was really fortuitous that you started it at the time that you did, because it really opened the doors for other entrepreneurs to do something similar.
Yes.
But that you were able to. Everybody's still able to be successful on that same field, right?
Yes.
And that plane and exist and have happy customers for everybody, right? So congratulations to you and your fruits team, and we just cannot wait until we've got something for us folks outside of Anderson. So you have run your business successfully for about 12 years now, Chris. So how do you contribute back to the community that supports your local business?
Well, so that's one of the things that, I've always been big on. I mean, I started my career in nonprofit, right? I was the director for Sanctuary for many, many years. And so that community service is really ingrained in me. And so, I volunteer my time. I, donate, we used to do this thing with the fruit staff, when they had 5Ks, especially for like a charitable cause, where I would pay for everyone to go out that Saturday and, participate. It's like, okay, exercise and we're supporting a good cause. And of course, always, when they ask for gift certificates or things of that nature, happy to donate. And so, that's always been something big, for us, or for me personally, and for Fruits. And then just in general, no matter where I've been, community service and giving back to our community, I just feel is so key because we all live here. Right. And, we all have to help each other, make Guam the best that it can be.
Yes, I totally agree. Thank you. So, you've also been a chamber member for a little while,
that's kind.
And also as an aside, Christine has been our chairwoman for 2020 and 2021. So thank you very much for your service to the Guam Chamber of Commerce. But speaking to you as a small business owner, right? How has your chamber membership benefited Fruits?
I don't know if many people know this story, but just again, going at the time that I opened Fruits, I was the general manager of Market Wholesale, and Market Wholesale was a chamber member.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I was getting the notices, all the chamber notices about trainings and different meetings and things that I felt was important for. Like the biggest thing has always been the chamber's trainings. So things like customer service, things like supervisory skills, things that I can't afford as a small business to pay for a trainer to come in and train my staff. And then of course, being a small business, you have ones or twosies and right. And so, I needed something. So I see the notices, and then I would send my Fruits employees, I tell them about it and arrange for them to sign up and register and attend these trainings. It was actually a chamber staff at one of the general membership meetings that was like, hey, Miss Christine, I always noticed that your Fruits people are attending our training. She's like, but you're not a chamber member. And she's like, you get a discount, right, if you're a chamber? And I'm like, it was one of those moments where it's like, duh, and I was like, you know what, you're right. So we signed up for membership, and we've been a member since then. And I don't even remember what year that was, but, it must have been early on. I want to say it must have been about 2009, because I was using your trainings for everything for my staff, right? So, and I don't think it was much longer after that I think it was the accountant was like, what are you doing? So we've been part of the chamber ever since then, and I've continued. And as you know, even with my involvement on the chamber board, that people don't know that I'm on chamber board, not because of all the other jobs, but because of Fruits, being a small business. So I've always tried to bring that perspective to the board to help them to understand, we need to make sure that we are appealing to and a benefit to our small business community. And so, as you know, I've been a big proponent, after we were able to open, come on guys, we got to start up those small trainings again. We've got to start those even like Joe Arnett's, anything to do with taxes to small business, the armed forces doing, how can you do business with MWR, plus the supervisory training that happened recently. I mean, we had to do it in 2 shifts because you guys were completely full and I wanted to get everybody in. But for me, that is how the chamber helps small business. It allows us to get the resources that we need or the information that we need. And, most people know as a chamber member during the pandemic, we were the primary source of getting information to them on how do you apply for PPP?
Yes.
What are the components? I remember you did this whole chart that listed everything that was available.
Yes.
And someone actually sent it to me and said, Chamber should be doing this. I was like, that originated from us. And I was, Catherine, put your name on the bottom because they don't know that it's originating from Chamber. But that is an example. It's not just, those really concrete things, but the Chamber's ability to disseminate information and keep us informed, and also to fight for us when it comes to legislative bills that affect our business community. None of us as a small business, and I would venture to say even some big businesses, has the ability, I'm going to attend that hearing. I'm going to do that written testimony. I'm going to, lobby with our senators to understand our perspective. And that's what the Chamber brings to the business community, and especially for small businesses. Otherwise, we wouldn't have a voice.
That's right. That's right. Thank you so much, Christina.
Yes.
Appreciate that. So, people are listening and they're seeing that, we have a successful entrepreneur. And what kind of advice would you give to anybody that is interested in starting their business?
Well, I would very highly recommend to do your homework. I mean, that was one thing. It was like, yes, I love the products. Yes, my kids love the products. But, of course, finance being a big part of my background, I was running all the financials on it, making sure that it could be profitable, making sure that this was a viable business, and I also did a lot of the research, just looking at the smoothie, juice, and healthy food industry at the mainland at that time, and what were their numbers, and what did it look like. And I even went to talk to the folks from Subway and from the one at SDA. Those
yes.
two were the only ones at that time that were doing healthy options. So I wanted to get their advice and take in, so some people tease me about Subway, and I'm like, I love their food. I can't eat at my own restaurant every single day. So, if you're eating healthy, now you have an additional choice.
Right.
And it's great now in Guam. We have many, many more choices. But,
Exactly.
I think there's enough business for everybody. And that, having those choices makes it so that people stick to, again, whatever lifestyle they decide to pursue. And if that's being healthy, then having more choices is fantastic. But do your homework,
Yes.
you want to make sure that you understand. And I have some folks, I have family and friends that come to me as they're starting their new business. And I remember one was like, I want to bring out only, grain-fed meat. And this, again, back in the day where and I was like, wow, right, that any kind of frozen goods, you have to bring out a full container, and where are you sourcing that from? What is the shipping, timeline? And again, because I was in distribution, I had a lot of this insight, but for those starting out a new business, that's something that you really have to factor. A lot of the times, products are not available readily here on island, and especially if you're looking at specialty items, you need to make sure that getting it to Guam is not cost prohibitive. You need to make sure you really do your homework, and that you run the numbers, get advice. SBDC does a great job.
Yes.
There are other resources out there, at the university, at SBA, that can really help people and guide them. And I really encourage them to take advantage because, again, you're putting your collateral, your, assets on the line every time you start a business, and you want to make sure that you're protecting yourself.
Exactly. And then, and another level and a layer, I guess, to that is you're not just starting your business, right? But you're bringing a franchise. So there's another level of regulations and rules
Yes.
that you have to follow. And then there might even be additional fees that are involved,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So again, going back to knowing what your finances are, how you're going to be able to pay for this, and do you have enough of that financial backing?
Exactly. And going to that point too, it's one of the things, like me personally, I did not have the background in restaurant operations. So that was one of the key reasons why I wanted to, go through a franchise, because the systems are already there. The guidance is already there. The operational, like they were a part of even how do you set this up so that, it's efficient when you're making these products. These are things like locally, if I wanted to start a restaurant or anything, I would not have any insight to. So for me, that was part of the reason of making that decision. And so, again, those wanting to start a business, your homework, understanding what type of business that you're trying to run, and making sure that you understand all the nuances, because the worst thing also, you might have a fantastic product, but if you don't understand how to deliver that, or you can't get it to Guam at a price point that makes it appealing for your customers to purchase, it might not work. And you really don't want to put yourself in that position.
Yes. So, I have one more question before we close out our segment, and that is, what is next on the horizon for Fruits?
New stores.
Okay. So, is there a timeline? Like, are we going to say 2023 summer? Are we going to, fall? What is that?
So that, again, I've been in discussions with a few potentials, and so, I've always had this mindset that, for me, I'm very much into my faith. So I'm like, God will set my path. So if it works out, I never set timelines in my head. I'm just I go with what is laid before me, and I trust, that I will be led to what I need to do next. And so I'm just talking to people and seeing how things pan out, and if it works, it works. And if it doesn't, then it wasn't meant to be, and I need to pivot someplace else. But I definitely, like I said, want to do something locally. I especially want to do something in the South. That's where I'm from. And I really hope to be able to open a store down south at some point. And then, of course, continuing to take the advice and recommendations of our staff for new products. For me, that's always exciting. My staff, some of them get really shy, so I'll be like, can we just name it after you? They're like, no.
I love that. I love that you're so open to that. And we're so excited for these great things that will be happening for Fruits because they benefit our entire community. So thank you so much for joining us today, Christine. We learned so much, and we had such a nice time with you. So we truly appreciate your insights and sharing what it takes to run and operate a sustainable small business in Guam. We encourage our residents to support our small businesses like Fruits, who make a big difference in our community. I'd like to thank our listeners for tuning in and listening to today's show. We encourage you to drop us a note to share your comments on this episode, or visit our website or social media platforms. We'd really appreciate your feedback. We look forward to having you back on the Chamber Member Spotlight podcast again soon. If you haven't already heard it, we also have another podcast called The Chamber Biz Box, which features issues and challenges that face our business community. They are both currently available on our YouTube and Spotify, so give it a listen. This is your host, Catherine Castro. Until next time, take good care and make it a great day, Guam.